When the distant world called Earth was struck by a calculated orbital blast, the Galactic Council expected panic. They had seen it many times before. New worlds always reacted the same way. First came fear, then confusion, then desperate messages sent into space, asking for mercy or help. Earth did none of that. From high above the planet, the strike looked small. A brief flash, a controlled release of energy. It was meant to damage satellites, disrupt communication, and remind Earth that it was weak and being watched. The Council believed this would shake the planet. They believed humans would turn on one another. They believed the noise would follow. Instead, Earth went quiet. On the surface of the planet, Adam Cole stood inside a control room filled with screens. He had been awake for nearly 20 hours, but his eyes stayed sharp. Lines of data moved across the displays, showing power grids, satellites, and networks across the world. Some lines flickered. Others went dark. Then one by one they returned. Adam did not shout. He did not panic. He had trained for this kind of day, though he never thought it would come from the stars. He placed his hands on the console and spoke calmly into his headset, giving short, clear instructions. His voice did not rise. People listened. Across the room, Sarah Lane studied another wall of screens. She watched cities recover faster than expected. Backup systems activated smoothly. Old systems stepped aside for newer ones. She compared the real data with earlier models and frowned slightly. The numbers were better than predicted. Much better. This shouldn't be happening this fast, she said quietly. Adam glanced at her, then back at the screens. But it is, he replied. Around the world, similar scenes played out. In hospitals, emergency power systems switched on without delay. In cities, traffic slowed but did not stop. Planes changed course smoothly. Trains paused, then moved again. People were confused, yes, but they followed instructions. They trusted systems built over many hard years. The strike had damaged several satellites, but Earth had learned long ago not to rely on just one layer of defense. Signals rerouted. Ground stations took over. Engineers who had once argued over budgets now shared access freely. No one asked who was in charge. They already knew what needed to be done. In the quiet moments between commands, Adam thought about the nature of the attack. It was not meant to destroy. It was meant to warn. That fact bothered him more than the damage itself. Whoever had done this wanted Earth afraid. Sarah felt the same unease. She had studied human behavior during disasters. Earthquakes, storms, blackouts. Humans did not like being helpless, but they were very good at adapting. She saw it now in real time. The planet was bending, not breaking. Far from Earth, in a chamber built of smooth stone and light, the Galactic Council watched through distant sensors. Large displays showed Earth's surface glowing softly with artificial light. They waited for fires. They waited for chaos. They waited for cries sent across open space. None came. One council observer leaned forward, adjusting the display. They should be arguing by now, he said. Their systems were hit. Another replied, perhaps the delay is temporary. But time passed. Hours turned into cycles. Earth did not collapse. Instead, small changes became visible. New energy patterns formed around the planet. Orbital paths shifted slightly as replacement satellites moved into place. It was not impressive in a dramatic way, but it was steady. Back on Earth, Adam finally allowed himself to sit. He rubbed his eyes and looked around the room. People were tired but focused. No one was running. No one was shouting. The fear was there, but it was quiet, kept under control. Sarah approached him with a tablet. Cities are adapting faster than our best-case models, she said. Even the older systems are holding. Adam nodded. Humans are good at practice, he said. We've had plenty of it. Sarah understood what he meant. Earth had survived many disasters of its own making. Each time it had learned. Not perfectly. Not without cost. But enough to keep going. Outside, the sky looked the same as it always had. Most people did not know exactly what had happened yet. They felt disruptions. They saw brief warnings on screens. But life continued. Children went to sleep. Workers stayed late. Somewhere, someone fixed a broken line and moved on. The silence from Earth was not empty. It was full of work. Deep in space, the Galactic Council began to shift uneasily. Silence was not part of the usual pattern. Silence meant thought. Silence meant preparation. Some members suggested sending another message, another test. Others hesitated. One elder observer stared at the data and felt a quiet concern. They are not reacting, he said slowly. They are adjusting. The chamber grew still. On Earth, Adam and Sarah stood side by side, watching the planet's system stabilize into a new balance. Neither spoke of revenge. Neither spoke of fear. They only noted what had changed and what still needed to be done. Humanity did not scream into space. It simply adjusted. Across Earth, something unusual began to happen. Leaders who once argued over borders, rules, and pride stopped asking permission. Data started moving freely. Old limits vanished overnight. Secure lines that had been locked for decades opened without protest. No one made speeches. No one claimed credit. The planet understood that time mattered more than politics. In a quiet research center far from any capital city, Evan Brooks leaned over a table filled with glowing screens. He was an engineer, not a politician, and he preferred machines to meetings. Yet now, information from every major nation flowed into his systems. Designs, failures, old warnings, and half-finished ideas were suddenly available to everyone. Evan let out a slow breath. "We should have done this years ago," he muttered. Across the room, Maya Stone scanned long lists of numbers. She was an analyst trained to look for patterns hidden inside chaos. What she saw unsettled her. Earth was not just fixing what had been damaged. It was improving things that had already worked. "The strike exposed weak points," Maya said calmly. "But it also showed us what survives pressure." Evan nodded. He watched as a defensive system updated itself based on shared global input. One country's failure became another country's solution. No one argued about ownership. The problem belonged to everyone. Outside that room, similar work continued. In underground facilities, scientists tested new materials inspired by how Earth's atmosphere had absorbed the orbital energy. In space, engineers adjusted satellite paths, learning how to make them harder to track and easier to replace. On the surface, power grids were redesigned to function even when cut into pieces. The attack had lasted minutes. The learning would last forever. Maya noticed something else as well. Human behavior had changed. People were tired but focused. News reports were careful, factual, and calm. Rumors existed, but they did not spread far. Most people were too busy helping, fixing, or learning to panic. "This isn't fear," Maya said quietly. "It's attention." Evan smiled faintly. "We're good at that when things get serious." Across oceans and time zones, emergency councils met and ended quickly. Decisions were made fast. Not because everyone agreed, but because disagreement no longer mattered. The planet had been struck from above. That fact reshaped priorities. Within days, Earth's defenses looked different. Not larger. Not louder. Just smarter. Systems now assumed failure would happen and planned around it. Communication networks no longer depended on clean signals. They expected noise. Energy systems no longer chased maximum output. They aimed for survival. Far away, the Galactic Council continued to observe. Their models no longer matched reality. Earth's recovery curve bent upward instead of flattening. Small changes appeared everywhere. New patterns formed where old weaknesses had been. One observer frowned. "They are improving," he said. "Not repairing." Another replied, "Improvement requires intention." That word lingered in the chamber. Back on Earth, Evan and Maya reviewed the latest projections. The numbers made no sense according to older theories. Humanity should have slowed. Instead, it accelerated. "The strike tried to teach us a lesson," Evan said. Maya looked up from her screen. "And it did," she replied. "Just not the one they wanted." There was no celebration. No declaration of victory. Earth did not announce its progress to the stars. Everything happened quietly, step by step. The planet absorbed the shock and used it as fuel. The strike was no longer seen as a wound. It had become a lesson. Inside the vast Galactic Council chamber, the air felt different. The walls shimmered softly with light, and long curved seats rose in layers around the central display. This was a place where decisions shaped star systems and ended wars before they began. Yet now there was hesitation. Counselor Hale sat still, his hands folded, his eyes fixed on the projections of Earth rotating slowly in space. He was one of the oldest observers in the chamber. He had watched hundreds of young worlds rise and fall. Patterns comforted him. Predictable reactions made the galaxy easier to manage. Earth no longer fit the pattern. Data streams flowed across the display. Energy usage, orbital movement, communication signals. All of them showed change. Not chaos. Not collapse. Change with direction. Hale felt a quiet tension settle in his chest. "They are learning," he said slowly. Several younger council members shifted in their seats. One of them glanced at the data and gave a dismissive gesture. "Learning is expected," he replied. "All species adapt after first contact. It is coincidence. Hale did not answer at once. He continued to watch the screen. He noticed how Earth's systems no longer returned to their old shapes after damage. They reshaped themselves into something new. No, Hale said at last. This is not coincidence. The younger members exchanged looks. One leaned forward. With respect, Elder, Earth was struck lightly. Their response is within tolerance. Hale turned his gaze toward him. Fear causes noise, he said calmly. Panic causes disorder. Earth shows neither. Silence followed his words. The council had expected desperate signals by now. Requests for aid. Protests. Threats. Instead, Earth transmitted almost nothing. That absence troubled Hale more than any loud response could have. He reviewed older records in his memory. Worlds that feared extinction tried to escape it. They hid. They begged. They fractured. None of them rebuilt faster than before. Earth did. Their silence is not confusion, Hale continued. It is focus. Another council member laughed softly. You see danger where there is none. They are young. Fragile. Hale did not argue. He simply pointed to a section of the display. Their defense networks now assume failure, he said. That is not fragility. That is preparation. The laughter faded. As the session continued, reports grew more troubling. Earth's response time shortened. Their redundancy increased. Their systems showed signs of planning beyond simple repair. They were adjusting for future pressure, not past damage. Hale leaned back, his expression grave. He had seen this before long ago in a species that now controlled half a spiral arm. They are not preparing to flee, he said quietly, almost to himself. A nearby counselor heard him. What do you believe they are preparing for? Hale looked once more at Earth's image. The blue world looked peaceful, unchanged on the surface. That too was a warning. They are preparing to endure, he replied. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. For many cycles after the strike, the Galactic Council waited for a message from Earth. They expected anger, threats, or desperate questions. None arrived. The silence stretched longer than anyone predicted. Some council members began to relax. Others, especially Counselor Hale, did not. Then, without warning, a signal appeared. It did not force its way into the council systems. It followed protocol. It announced itself. It waited to be accepted. That alone caused several members to pause. When the signal was approved, the central display shifted. The image of Earth faded, replaced by a single human figure. She stood in a simple room with no symbols of power behind her. No flags. No weapons. Just a neutral background and steady light. Her name was Anna Wright. She looked directly into the recording device, her posture straight but relaxed. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and clear. It carried no fear and no pride. We acknowledge the recent event, she said. We understand it was limited in scope. Several council members exchanged uneasy glances. Anna continued without pause. She did not accuse. She did not demand explanation. She spoke as if addressing equals in a long discussion rather than victors speaking to the defeated. Our systems were affected, she said. We observed the methods used. We adjusted our structures to prevent similar outcomes. The words struck the chamber harder than any threat could have. Anna's tone never changed. She did not rush. Each sentence felt measured, chosen carefully. She explained how Earth had rerouted energy flow, strengthened orbital paths, and improved response times. She did not reveal everything, but she revealed enough. She was not boasting. She was documenting. Counselor Hale leaned forward slightly. He recognized this approach. It was the language of professionals, of builders, of people who assumed future contact was certain. We are not seeking apology, Anna said. We are requesting dialogue. The word echoed in the chamber. Dialogue was not something young species asked for after being struck. They asked for protection. They asked for mercy. They asked for time. Anna asked for conversation. She continued, we believe communication reduces uncertainty. Uncertainty leads to conflict. We would prefer to avoid that. No threats followed. No warning of retaliation. Just a statement of intent. When the message ended, the display returned to the image of the council chamber. No one spoke. The silence was heavy. A younger council member finally broke it. That was unexpected. Hale did not respond right away. His eyes remained fixed on the space where the human had been. That, he said slowly, was confidence without aggression. Another member shifted uneasily. They spoke as if they belong here. Hale nodded. They believe they do. The council reviewed the message again. Each time it felt more unsettling. Earth had not hidden its growth. It had not exaggerated it either. The message was careful, respectful, and firm. Anna Wright had not sounded like a survivor. She had sounded like a representative. For the first time since the strike, the Galactic Council understood the mistake they might have made. Earth was not asking for its place in the galaxy. It was quietly assuming one. After the message from Earth ended, the Galactic Council did not speak for a long time. The chamber felt colder, quieter, as if the stars outside were listening. At last, the Council ordered new simulations. The first run showed concern. The second showed risk. The third showed something far worse. Earth did not weaken under pressure. Earth improved. Each new challenge added to the model made humanity faster, smarter, more connected. Systems that were damaged did not return to their old form. They evolved. Communication became harder to block. Energy became harder to disrupt. Coordination became nearly instinctive. A young council analyst adjusted the parameters again, hoping for a different result. The outcome only grew darker. "Run it with another strike," someone said. The simulation showed Earth adapting even faster. "Add internal division," another suggested. The model adjusted. Humanity slowed for a moment, then reorganized and recovered stronger than before. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This was not how developing species behaved. Most fractured under stress. Most turned inward. Most lost time arguing over blame. Earth lost none. Counselor Hale watched the numbers rise and fall with steady eyes. He felt no surprise now. Only confirmation. He had seen this pattern once before, long ago, in a species that now stood beyond challenge. "They are accelerating," Hale said quietly. A younger council member frowned. "Acceleration after harm is unstable." Hale shook his head. "Not when harm becomes instruction." The council ran the final simulation. It included time. Decades. Centuries. The result was clear. Earth crossed a line no one had marked on any map. Hale stood slowly, his voice calm but firm. "The strike did not delay them," he said. "It refined them." No one argued. The truth settled over the chamber like gravity. The attack meant to warn Earth had taught it how to survive the galaxy. Humanity had not panicked. It had practiced. Some council members looked afraid. Others looked thoughtful. A few looked relieved that the truth had finally been spoken. Hale looked once more at the image of Earth turning in silence. "They will remember who taught them," he added. The council understood then. Earth was no longer reacting to the galaxy. It was preparing to meet it. The Galactic Council chamber filled slowly. No speeches were planned. No symbols were raised. This session was not meant to impress anyone. It was meant to decide something that could not be undone. The vote was brief. Earth was no longer listed as vulnerable. The word was removed from the record without ceremony. In its place came a new status, one rarely given and never to a world so young. Humanity was granted a seat. Not as conquerors. Not as dependents. As equals. Counselor Hale closed his eyes for a moment when the decision became final. He felt neither pride nor regret. Only certainty. The galaxy had not chosen Earth. Earth had forced the galaxy to notice it. No announcement was sent with urgency. No warning followed. The council simply transmitted the decision, using the same calm tone Earth had used before. It was formal, clear, respectful. On Earth, the message arrived quietly. In the same control room where the first strike had been measured and contained, Adam Cole stood watching a familiar wall of screens. The systems now ran smoother than ever. New patterns flowed through them, stronger and more flexible. He noticed the incoming signal, read its origin, and nodded once. "That figures," he said softly. Sarah Lane stood nearby, reviewing long-term data projections. She looked up when Adam passed her the message. She read it carefully, then read it again. There was no smile on her face. Only understanding. "So that's where we are now," she said. Adam shrugged slightly. "Looks like it." There was no cheering. No applause. Around them, people continued to work. Engineers adjusted parameters. Analysts reviewed trends. The planet did not stop to celebrate a seat among the stars. Sarah noticed that and felt a quiet sense of pride. "Do you think people expected more?" she asked. "Maybe," Adam replied. "But we didn't do this for recognition." Across the world, similar moments passed unnoticed. In labs, factories, offices, and quiet rooms, people read the news and then return to their tasks. Humanity had been surviving pressure long before anyone else took an interest. The council watched Earth closely in the days that followed. They waited for a shift in behavior. For demands. for ambition to flare openly. None came. Earth did not push forward. It did not expand outward. It simply continued refining itself. Systems grew cleaner. Communication grew clearer. Decisions grew faster. Humanity treated its new status as a responsibility, not a reward. Counselor Hale observed this with careful attention. They work as if nothing has changed, a younger council member noted. Hale nodded. That is because nothing has changed for them, he replied. They were already moving this way. On Earth, Adam finished a long shift and stepped outside as the sun dipped below the horizon. The sky looked the same as it always had. Blue fading to dark. Quiet and familiar. Sarah joined him, stretching tired muscles. Strange day, she said. Strange year, Adam replied. They stood in silence for a moment. Not thinking about the council. Not thinking about the strike. Just thinking about what still needed to be built, fixed, and improved. Humanity did not see itself as special. It never had. It only knew how to respond when pushed. Learn. Adjust. Continue. Far away, the Galactic Council updated its records. Earth was now marked as a stable force. A listening presence. A world that responded to pressure not with rage but with resolve. Counselor Hale recorded a final note for future observers. Do not mistake their calm for weakness, he said. They do not pause because they are unsure. They pause because they are working. Back on Earth, the lights of cities came on as night spread across the planet. Power flowed smoothly. Networks held strong. People rested so they could continue tomorrow. There was no ending celebration. No final declaration. Just a planet that had been tested, had learned, and had quietly taken its place.